Hello everybody, my name is Dr. Kevin Pallis. There's a crisis in chiropractic today. The relentless roller coaster ride of unpredictable, unreliable, inconsistent monthly income. Here's what I'm going to share with you in this video. The first factor that's fueling this crisis so you can get off the new patient treadmill forever. It takes a new way of doing things to prosper in this new economy. This factor might not appeal to everybody. After all, there are some DCs who are resigned to not growing in this economy or have quit. That's unfortunate. But for the rest of us that are looking to prosper in any economy, here we go. Here's factor number one that's fueling this crisis. How to get off the new patient treadmill forever. Think new patients are the answer to your problems, doctor? Think again. Most DCs are already seeing enough new patients. Why can I stand here before you? Because I was in your shoes. Same problems with the never-ending search for new patients. When I did get them, I couldn't hold on to them. They were laughing at my treatment recommendations and I was losing my love for chiropractic. My dream, the thing I had worked so hard for, was slipping away. How long could I keep practicing this way, I thought to myself. I was not a happy camper. I was becoming short with my patients, my wife, my children, and my friends. The things I loved to do had been reduced to mere chores. I couldn't see it at the time, however. I was losing my mojo. I was reading about every gimmick, gizmo, hoodoo, hoodat, bright shiny objects in the chiropractic journal and the magazines. I was constantly on the prowl for the next bright shiny object to solve my new patient problems. It was taking me so long to do these modalities, my focus started to wander from chiropractic. Network marketing for vitamin nutritional drinks, flipping houses, decompression. There seemed no end to the distractions that were taking my interest from what I really loved to do in the first place, which is being a chiropractor. I just wasn't as successful at it as I wanted to be. Then I met my mentor, Dr. Joe Felicia. He said that I must get off the new patient treadmill. He introduced me to a system that I thought was absurd, the no new patient solution. I said, no new patients? That's what I need right now. I thought the man was crazy. He said something that stopped me right in my tracks. He asked me where are all the previous new patients that you've gone through? Where are they? If you could just keep some of them, would you be interested? Okay, he had my interest. The more I understood and thought about the no new patient solution, the more it made sense to me. The whole profession was chasing new patients. There had to be a better way. I don't want to be doing what everyone else is doing. A lot of them are in trouble. They're confused. This contrarian nature of this concept drew me to it, so I decided to give it a whirl. Then something changed in my practice. It started to grow and continued to grow. The relentless roller coaster ride of this unpredictable, unreliable, inconsistent income stopped. I was finally off the new patient treadmill. Income increased, practice became fun again. Boy, was it exciting. And Dr. Joe was getting on in years, and he asked me and my business partner, Dr. Ed Plentz, to start teaching it with him. His health turned worse, and we were summoned to his deathbed in Colorado Springs. This once strong, muscled man was a shadow of his former self, with a hospital gown on and a sad look etched on his face. He knew the end was near. His race was run. He said in a solemn, grave voice, Kevin, Ed, don't let my dreams die. Show others this system so it's not lost forever. The future of humanity depends on it. So here I am today sharing it with you. Our journey together begins. So let's talk about the first factor, shall we? Factor number one, the patient education system that dares to be different. The no new patient solution. Think new patients will solve your problems, doctor? Think again. You'll find out why relying on this one strategy alone will more likely set you back than move you forward. Controversial point, isn't it? Everyone else in our profession is preaching more new patients. Why? Because the dogma and the doctrine taught in our industry, our profession, is that you can't educate your patients and they won't stay. Time is of no help in this case. In fact, the more years you've been just treating your patients with no patient education, the more ingrained and the less profitable your practice has become, and the more of your passion has been extinguished, doctor. The more you let your patients push you around, negotiate with you, tell you what to do, the typical inmates running the asylum. It takes a bold new concept and direction to follow. Allow me to introduce the no new patient solution. Here's what it is. It's a PES system. What that means is a patient education system. It's all about communicating and educating the patients. This gives you a competitive advantage or an edge over any other chiropractor in your town, your community, anywhere, with or without insurance coverage. Talk about making a bold statement. Here's another one. Let me also tell you what it isn't. There's no external marketing or advertising, no ads to run, no mall screening, no websites, no computers to buy, no new expensive machines or equipment. This is not about being a salesman forcing things on your patients that they don't want or they don't need. Many chiropractors have already tried patient education and have flopped royally. They buy a newfangled patient education system and dutifully give it a whirl. The results are quite predictable. Disaster, mutiny, and the relentless roller coaster ride of unpredictable, unreliable, and inconsistent income. Even your CAs or even your spouse will condemn your new patient education system. How come? Because they'll whisper something in your ear. Why don't you just give people what they want? Forget about all this patient education and wellness stuff. If anyone comes in asking for this stuff, of course you can offer it to them. But in order for us to be busier and earn more income, we've got to give the patients what they demand from us. When a patient experiences results without relationships in place, they will do something very predictable, doctor. They'll leave. We continue to obediently practice with this dogma and doctrine in the forefront of our minds. The most successful and fulfilled DCs know that results without a relationship in patient education is a recipe for disaster. They won't stay. Many DCs have traveled down this familiar and embarrassing path and have made and continue to make the erroneous deduction that patient education doesn't work. Patient education does work, but just like any other form of education system, you got to follow the rules and there's a sequence. Just think ingredients to make a bread or a cake here. If you have all the ingredients right, but then you add the leavening or the rising agent in the cake or the bread last, and then you'll say, oh, I must have the wrong ingredients, you're making a false assumption. You got the right ingredients, wrong sequence. Before you start educating anybody, you have to have a relationship with that person, a relationship of trust and understanding. You've got to be able to relate and be relevant to your people. No matter what you've been taught in chiropractic school, results don't cut it here, especially with the current economic forces in place. If you can put yourself in the shoes and understand where your practice members or patients are coming from, then they'll allow you to educate them. We have a saying in our coaching program, relationships first, then results. Having a PES system, a patient education system in place, allows the DC to really understand and communicate to their patients, and for the patients to understand who they are and what they stand for. By understanding people, by being able to communicate to them and forming these emotional bonds of trust, resistance almost disappears to recommendations, to fees, with or without insurance. Testimonials are a higher quality. People make these emotional connections and bonds. They want to be with you and they want to stay and they follow your recommendations. Most people have been let down by medical people in their past who have not gotten to know their patients. Perhaps time constraints, or perhaps arrogance. Whenever any doctor, or anyone else for that matter, triggers the opportunity to be let down again, they go in fear mode. Typical fight or flight, and in this case, we're talking about flight. They'll say things like, I can't afford it. I'll have to talk to my spouse about it. Does insurance cover it? 3 times a week for how many weeks, etc. These are not realities. These are merely fear-conditioned responses to being let down in the past. This happens with no conscious thought on the patient's part, just avoidance and no decision made automatically. No matter how good a clinical or technical doctor you are, it doesn't matter unless you can communicate and educate your patients. Without having a PES in place, the DC is unwittingly thrust on a stage for their entire careers that never gets easier or better. Ask any veteran what types of questions or objections or stalling tactics they get from their patients. They're the same objections a brand new practitioner gets. Without a PES in place, your patients tolerate you just long enough to get what they want from you. Results. They offer you very little commitment, lots of resistance, because there's not a relationship in place. When you have your patients' backs, they sense it, and they offer very little resistance, and and they want to be in your inner circle. Nature favors long-term relationships. Patients want to be connected long-term to people who understand them and have their best interest at heart. If people are connected to the doctor and understand, they stay, which stops the relentless roller coaster ride of unpredictable, unreliable, inconsistent income. The doctor who can create relationships and educate their patients is essentially recession-proof, insurance-proof, bright shiny object-proof, and doesn't participate in the new patient treadmill. The truly uncommon, successful chiropractor.